Good morning, welcome everybody, and welcome to FreeAgent Ready for MTD. Put your plan into action. Kindly co-hosted, as I've previously said, with Robyn and Tom from Accountants Therapy. So today, as I've said, Tom and Robyn and myself. So agenda, we're going to have a little kick-off, welcome, overview, intro into what we'll cover. MTD overview, timelines, key dates, just to reiterate that, just so that everyone's fully aware. Then we'll go over Q&A, FreeAgent overview, Q&A, product demo, actions next step. We've also got a Q&A, so we'll be looking at general themes that are coming in through the questions, and then we'll do a nice little demo to round things off. So a bit of general housekeeping before we start. On 24 allows you to make the media player full screen, so you can do that. The chat box, we love to see your chat and your hellos and everything like that, but please do keep it polite and respectful. We are all here to get along after all. The Q&A is for your questions and answers. And what I've said is that we do collate them, so we do get a lot of questions. Unfortunately, we might not be able to answer them all, but what we do is we combine them all into general themes, and what we then do is we put the general themes with added information on the follow-up. There are a few polls as well that we'll be doing throughout the session, and then also today's session is recorded, and the link and everything will be in the follow-up email. So FreeAgent, it's HMRC recognised, MTD compatible. It started with MTD for VAT, and now we're moving on to MTD for income tax. Quick onboarding, easy to use for your clients and as well as yourself. We've got an amazing mobile app. We've won ICB's Luca Friendliest Software of the Year countless times. They might as well give it to us by now. We've won it that many times. Stellar UK-based support. So our support team, you've got a free phone, telephone number, email address, live web chat. They're based in sunny Scotland, in Edinburgh, in our head office. AI-powered technology and bulk action. So our AI is built into our banking area, and it helps you pass through all of those transactions to get over that debt. Whoever's typing, can we go on mute? Really sorry. And then we've got practice workflows. We've got over 100 integrations now. We've been working really, really hard on our integrations, for instance, like Tax Calc Dex, Engager, Fathom. We are releasing even more integrations this year, some really nice, juicy ones. And it's also free for certain clients. So anybody that's got a NatWest, Royal Bank of Scotland, Ulster Bank, Northern Ireland business bank account, or a Metal account. Metal is NatWest Online Challenger Bank. It only does business accounts. If you've got one of those bank accounts and your clients use it and maintain it, then they do qualify for having FreeAgent for free as well. So a little bit about FreeAgent. We've currently got 238,000 approximate active users, and what I mean by that is we've got people that actually use the software. They've got to have used it within the last 3 months for us to actually count it. Over 6,600 active partners. Partners we mean by accountancy practices, bookkeepers like yourselves. We have a 4.7 out of 5 Trustpilot rating, 98% support satisfaction. Our support team are really, really good. I can't really hype them up enough. Even if you've got some really stinker difficult questions, they are able to help with you. They know the software inside out. We've got an 80 NPS, so NPS stands for Net Promoter Score. And what you do is you get a survey come out and you score it between 0 and 8, 0 and 10, 10 being a promoter, 0 being a detractor. And normally standard like banks and software vendors are normally in the 30 to 40 range. When you get up to like 70 plus, you're looking at the likes of like Tesla and Apple. So we're in quite good company there. We've got people from 55 different industries that currently use FreeAgent, and we are pretty much head and shoulders above everybody else with the amount of people that actually use our bank feeds. So what we mean by that is, of those 238,000 active users, approximately 75% of those have got an active bank feed. From day one, we've got 80% plus of transactions categorized by our banking AI, so guess rules, guess explanations. And last year, we released 4,660 releases. A lot of those you won't have seen because they were behind the scenes, like cleaning up the code and everything like that, maintaining the app, making sure that it just ran smoothly. So onto the timeline. As you can see from the green dotted line, we are currently here. So mandation is about to happen for those with qualifying income above 50,000. And then the first deadline that they will reach specifically for MTD is the 7th of August. So that is when the first quarterly submission needs to have been submitted by. And then 7th of November, 7th of Feb, and then the 7th of May. And then they will have a tax return due as well. So the first poll of the day, I'm just going to leave this up here for a second. Would you like to book a free MTD action plan call for your practice? What we mean by that is, depending on where you are based within the UK, one of our sales team that looks after that region will then get in touch with you and then help you and have a pre-formatted conversation around MTD and how we can help and support you through that process. Just leave it. I feel like we should have the countdown timer music going while we do polls.
I would love to say I could do that, Ben, but it wouldn't be great.
Yeah, is that our cue to try and do it? Because that's not going to go well for anyone.
No, it's probably not. We'd probably get into trouble for copyright infringement or something like that as well, which is never good. We're up to 50%, so we'll then move on to the next one. Would you like someone at FreeAgent to get in touch with you? Yes, please. I'm new to FreeAgent. I'd like to learn more. Yes, please. I'd love to hear from my account manager. Or C, no thanks. So this is if you just want a general hello email or call or chat from us. More specifically, if you've just got any general inquiries. And it's still climbing. We're up to 50% answered. Cool. So Q&A. Tom, Robyn, welcome. Good morning. How are you both?
Good morning.
Very good, thank you. Really pleased to be with you.
Ready to go.
Cool. So we'll caveat that they have seen the questions beforehand. Just so that we can make sure we get some really amazing answers from them both. And the first question is, who are Accountants Therapy? What do you guys do?
Thanks, Ben. I'll take that one. But I want to tell you that the answers we would have given would have been amazing, even if we hadn't seen the questions beforehand, I hope. This one's an easy one, though. My name's Robyn. I'm a tax advisor, and I head up a tax team at LKA Chartered Accountants, which is based in Surrey. There's 5 of us in my tax team and about 20 of us across my practice. I'm a director here, and I'm joined by Tom, who's my partner in crime, and he's an accountant running his own business called JP Blackmoor. And together we look after Accountants Therapy, which is primarily a WhatsApp group based. It's a community full of accountants, bookkeepers, and tax advisors too. And essentially that community started a year ago, just over a year ago, when I got angry on a webinar about MTD and put my phone number saying I was fed up of just being sold to all the time, and I would like to have a discussion with other peers about what MTD actually means to us in practice. Now, I expected about 5 people to join me in that discussion, but the group rapidly went up to about 600 people at one point before we launched as a membership community back in November. And since last year, we've had daily discussion on MTD, and there's nothing like being responsible for a large group of other accountants, tax advisors, bookkeepers to make you feel that you really should become an expert on the subject matter. So we've spent every day, day in, day out, talking about MTD and what it means in practice. So hopefully we're really well placed to answer your questions. As are all of our members. We think everybody in our group are really far ahead of the curve in terms of what they know about MTD. It's a really lovely community in so much as there aren't any stupid questions, although we're kind of quite far ahead in our knowledge and our preparations. Everybody is very nice and all questions are very, very welcome. We also have some links to professional bodies and, as you've probably guessed, to lots of software vendors like yourself, Ben, with FreeAgent, so that they can answer our questions. We can encourage engagement throughout our industry. And at the moment, we're offering a free month of membership, and you can access that by going to accountanttherapy.co.uk/join-now- if you're curious about how you would fit into that. And we'd love to welcome you.
Amazing. I do have a follow-up question. I've been meaning to ask Tom this. Where does the JP Blackmoor?
That was a good question. And when I was applying for my bank account, I was asked by 3 different account managers at varying levels of the bank because they were worried I was trying to pass off with JP Morgan, and they were very concerned. But it's just in tribute to my kids, and I live on a very dark part of Dartmoor in what should be sunny Devon. And yeah, I always think it's just so black and dark here. So I thought Blackmoor, that was a cool name, and that's where it went.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you very much. Next question to you both. What's the biggest misconception you've seen about MTD for income tax?
This is my favorite question you're going to ask us, because where on earth are we going to start on this one? I think there are so many misconceptions about MTD, and it's probably the hardest bit about MTD. And feeling overwhelmed by it, because where do you start with good information? The myths seem to come from 2 places, right? That there are people who are completely well-intentioned but not very well informed, putting information out there, and you tend to find the misinformation on that comes from the technical side of things. The thresholds when whether you need to keep your receipts in digital format is something that I saw on LinkedIn the other day. People trying to help people but not actually having the information that they need to be able to put accurate information out there. And then you also have a lot of misinformation out there from people trying to sell something. Unfortunately, yesterday, again, I saw someone claiming that MTD will not be extra work, because guess what? The software will do absolutely everything for you. And I appreciate we are here on a software demo, but I'm not expecting that Ben's going to tell you that FreeAgent can do absolutely everything and that MTD will not be any extra work. Because of course, if MTD was not any extra work, you wouldn't be attending a webinar to have to learn about it. So I think those are some of the biggest misconceptions out there. And then sometimes we also get the misconceptions from HMRC themselves, having given us the information that they felt that the additional cost for an accountant in a year would be £16, including VAT. So that kind of misinformation out there is worrying. It can cause a lot of worry. Once you realise that there is a lot of misinformation out there, that can make it a little bit better, that you don't just take everything at face value. I don't know if you guys have seen anything recently that have made you go, why are they saying that?
I think for me, it's the fact that we've got the stuff over 10 years and there's so much information that is out there that is now being replaced, because the legislation in the last 12 months has moved so quickly, and what information that HMRC is pushing out there has changed dramatically, that people are looking at articles that were written 18 months ago that are now completely irrelevant. They just don't mean anything anymore. So it's trying to stay on top of that. And, webinars like today with FreeAgent, get a little touch up on your knowledge, stay up to date with what changes are happening. That will cut out a lot of the misinformation, I think. But it's just never ending, isn't it, Ben? I mean, the software vendors, you've had constant changes almost daily. Yeah,
and to put it into context, there's now over 200 API endpoints specifically for MTD that HMRC have had to build. They're building still some more for the final declaration around foster care allowance. I know there was been a few questions around that in your WhatsApp group. but they're now on some of them, they're on version 5, version 6, and every time they update it, we're having to update it and manage it and all of that. So it is a constant battle of making sure that we do keep everything up to date and make sure it still works at the end of the day and that it's correct.
I think the one that we've seen this week, Robyn, is about partnerships, isn't it? We've had a few people say that if they've a client has breached the MTD threshold of 50,000, they've got to come in from April 2026. But they've seen that if they're in a partnership, then they don't need to do MTD. Now, that isn't the case. If you were wanting to sign up to the beta testing, if you had partnership income on your tax return, you couldn't sign up for the beta testing. That doesn't mean that you're not mandated from April 2026. Yeah, I think that's the one that's come out this week.
Yeah, provided that you have that qualifying income from other sources, not from the partnership, because of course partnership income isn't part of qualifying income. Yeah, those kind of things, sometimes those aspects cause that confusion, because you can see why people would think, oh, we're out because we haven't been able to sign up yet. And then suddenly that changes, and that is very confusing. The upshot is there's misinformation out there because this is such an enormous topic for people to digest.
I mean, it's the biggest tax generational shift in over a generation. While we're talking about qualifying income, would one of you like to just reiterate what actually is qualifying income and what is out?
Yeah. Do you want to do that one, Tom?
You are the most. You're the tax advisor, technical expert. I'll let you.
Oh, good. It's not a VAT question, so I will deal with that one. So, qualifying income is essentially or a client's gross turnover from self-employment, or from self-employment if they have more than one trade, so if you would add them together if someone has also a letting property, and that can be inside the UK or outside the UK, and that's the gross rental receipt, so before any expenses in both of those cases. And we're going to measure that against the threshold. So for 24-25 on the 24-25 tax return, the threshold was £50,000, meaning that people would have to start from April 26. For the 25-26 year that we're in at the moment, the threshold is 30,000 to bring people into 27, and then 20,000 for the year after that. Tom, you've unmuted yourself. That means you want to add something.
I was going to say, there are specific boxes in the tax return that will flag if you are in MTD. So
we have a really nice resource in that in Accountants Therapy that we're happy to share within the group, as there's a lot of questions coming through on the chat about how to join us. Come and join us for the 3 month, and we'll pop that into our Accountants Therapy later so you can see.
Yeah, and it's important to remember as well, with agent sign up, I think one of the big misconceptions about agent sign up is that HMRC have been saying that they won't sign people up. But we know that eventually they will sign clients up for MTD. However, the reason for why we as agents should be signing our clients up is actually really important. And it's because they're moving the data from the old agent gateway onto the new ASA. And when you're doing that client sign up, you're checking that the information is correct when you're inputting it on the new system. So if you wait for HMRC to do it, they're just using old, probably incorrect information. We've all seen clients that get married, divorced, change address, have piece of information that's incorrect from day one. So that's why I think there's a big misconception that you can do nothing and the client will get a letter and it's best to leave them to it. That's a really good one to look at, is whether you should be signing your clients up yourself to make sure that the data from day one is correct.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Next one, what are the biggest bottlenecks when it comes to the quarterly updates and the final declarations?
Well, I'll take that one, Ben. For me, it goes down to clients, I think. I've seen a lot of talk online about how quarterly updates and software is going to totally revolutionise how clients work, how they're going to be more efficient, they're going to be a lot quicker. And I think that all boils down again to training. And we've been through MTD for VAT, and I'm sure a lot of accountants in the group will say right now that they have the same issues with clients leaving it until a couple of weeks, a week before the VAT filing deadline to give you those last bits of information. And although the quarter updates are not small tax returns, they are just demonstrating to HMRC that you're keeping digital records and you're staying up to date. We're still bound by the PCRT to make sure that things are looking good and accurate, We don't want any wildly incorrect information going to HMRC. So I think it's all about making sure we spend the time now training clients in how to use the software, if they're going to do it, setting parameters with clients now as to what our responsibilities as the accountant are going to be, how we're going to work together, what communication there needs to be. And I know we're going to talk about, some of the features in FreeAgent for automation, but that is a key point for me, is trying to focus on the bottlenecks now before we've got the problem of filing the first quarter update in August and said, right, I've got a few months now to get these systems in place to cut out those bottlenecks. Because at the moment, I'm sure, Robyn, you'll agree, we're all focusing on what we need to do to get the clients signed up, get them ready, get them on the software, get that first quarter update. How many of us are actually looking to January 2027 when we've got still all of the tax returns to file that people bring in naturally late? We've still got our December VAT. We've still got all of the quarter updates to do in that third quarter. So that, for me, is the bottlenecks. It's still going to be a lot of work, but we can mitigate it, we can manage it, and we can stay on top of it.
I totally agree. I think most of us are trying not to think about January next year. I think February is never the time to think about next January anyway, let alone the thought of a bigger bottleneck next year. But I think you've said something interesting there. I think some of the bottlenecks are now, actually, because the thought that it's now that we're having to educate ourselves, having to educate the clients and train the clients. That's a lot of work all at one time, and I can understand why a lot of people are burying their head in the sand in some ways over this, because it feels like there's a lot to do right now. I think that we'll also see a similar bottleneck this time next year because of the soft landing. We have, unless there's going to be an extended soft landing for the 30,000 cohort for April 27, we're going to really have two sets of clients going live with penalties this time next year. So I think those that aren't waking up to MTD this year because there aren't any sticks, we're going to really see that hit this time next year. And as you said, in January as well, when we come to do the tax returns, and that Q4 as well. Eek.
Great fun. And also, we're still waiting for letters of engagement, aren't we? Like the final letters of engagement. I know some of the professional bodies are bringing them out, but I still think there's a little bit of uncertainty about just how finalised they are. HMRC is publishing the final regulations, hopefully next month, as to what MTD is shaped like. We're still waiting on that. And I think FreeAgent, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, FreeAgent is a bit ahead of the curve for a lot of the software vendors because you've been doing this for quite a while now. And actually, when you look at the approved list, or the recognised list, sorry, not allowed to say approved, if you look at the recognised list of software vendors, there are a lot on there that say they're MTD ready. They're still not filing quarter updates, and they still haven't actually filed anything really substantial testing numbers wise. So it's that bottleneck as well of testing, knowing what software I'm going to pick as a practice, who I'm going to use, how it's going to be ready, how I'm going to train my clients. That's the thing I'm addressing for myself at the moment, is getting that ready, getting my FreeAgent guides out to clients, making sure they all know how to use the software if they're going to do the quarter updates themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I must give a shout out and kudos to the tax team within FreeAgent, because they're the people that have actually been churning out all the updates and consistently doing it to help get us above that curve. And we're basically on nitty-gritty edge case scenarios now. But yeah, I would say we're pretty much ahead of the curve at the minute. Obviously, that could all change. But we're also the second software vendor, Rebecca Bennyworth, beat us to being the first to submit that previous year's tax return through MTD. But yeah, and we've done one from space. No one else has done that yet.
I was going to say, yeah. Has anyone done it in space yet, Ben? If you haven't done it in space, have you lived?
How long are we going to keep talking about that, though? We need one on the moon next.
To be honest, it's pretty cool though that
very cool.
We did we got it pulled off and it worked. It would have been quite funny if it didn't work. It would have, and that, but it worked, and it is something to be proud of. So,
yeah, definitely.
Next question: how do you equip your practices to embrace the upcoming changes with confidence?
I'll take that one to start with. I think that's something that's been really challenging, actually. And I feel like I should probably have a better answer to this, seeing that I saw the questions in advance than I do. But I think the wealth of time that it's taken, so the amount of time it's taken to amass the wealth of information that I now have on MTD has made it tricky for me to feel like at least my team are confident as well, because they see that I know a lot about MTD, and I think that in some ways I've accidentally excluded them from that process. And I hope I'm being honest with this so that other people can learn from, I suppose, my mistakes there. But we've also had that challenge that a lot of the learning has needed to be done in a busy time of year. So most people didn't. For myself, I didn't wake up to the thought that I needed to do anything on MTD until this time last year. So by the time I had realized that I needed to learn and do anything, we were already into tax season and we're already rolling with that. So it's been a challenge, I think, to make sure that we have confidence in my team when we're dealing with MTD. We have done training sessions. Ultimately, I'm owning and managing the process here. And from a client point of view, there should be confidence in our ability to help them in so much as we are some of the experts on MTD and are totally able to help them through that journey. My teams are copied into the correspondence that we have with clients so that they can see the process that I'm trying to implement. And then I think for us, it will be a case of seeing what happens. This is new for everybody. I'm not quite sure exactly what process I want to implement. So I'm keeping my mind open as to how I do that and empower my team to be involved. Well, my team have been involved in learning new softwares and being involved in that, and I'm really proud of them. And I think that has been an excellent thing for us in MTD. One of the wins on MTD is that we have looked at other softwares and that we have had a bigger scope of what's out there. But yeah, I suppose when I saw that question about how are we empowering people, I found it really difficult, and I think that that's completely legitimate if other people hear that and think I'm also finding that quite difficult too.
Definitely, because there's umpteen amount of softwares, then you've got bridging software to learn as well, and I think a follow-up question from both your perspectives: are you letting your clients pick the software, or are you guiding them depending on their certain scenarios?
I'm not letting them choose. Absolutely not. I think that's also part of my job, is to say that, you know, I'm living and breathing this. It's my job. That is why I'm choosing this is the best software for you. And I've made that decision. You know, I will be using FreeAgent. I'm already winning work from clients who have never had an accountant before, because they're looking at the metal FreeAgent link and going, I can get a good business bank account and accounting software for free, and then have a new accountant that's going to give me loads of tax advice, help my business, and get the quarter updates filed and on time. So yeah, that's my take on it. I'm definitely not.
Yeah, I did the opposite, and I did let my clients choose when I very first made contact with them, and I cannot tell you how much I regret that. That was really a mistake in our process, because I felt that they should have choice, and at that point there wasn't quite as much choice as there is now, so that's made more difficult in some ways. I think it's good that there's choice out there, but it actually makes our life more difficult when we, exactly as you said, have to look at learning lots of different systems. Now I'm a lot more, these are a few options that I would like you to choose from, because these are the ones that I can support you best, or this is what you would look at. For example, if you need to move into a separate bank account, consider a Metal or a NatWest bank account, because you have a FreeAgent license. That's one of the options that I am now actually giving my clients, and I feel a lot better that my process is now a bit more streamlined.
Amazing. So speaking about processes, what automations and tools have you found most useful in your MTD for income tax preparation?
I've had to list them, Ben, because your colleague Stu the other day when we were in the webinar, he threw a few curveballs with what is coming in on the roadmap for FreeAgent. So hopefully I don't get shouted at for dropping them in. But so without looking at the list, the first one for me, like I've said before, is the metal FreeAgent link. I've chosen 3 software providers that I'm going to work with moving forward, because I was like, I can't have 20. It doesn't work. So I've chosen 3. I'm going to do bridging, and then I'm going to have FreeAgent, and I'm going to have one other, which is going to be as a backup. I think that's going to be the main priority, is the backup. Getting those clients using the bank feeds correctly from day one, and training them in how to cut down on using the bank account for personal expenditure, getting them all, getting the systems in place. That's the first bit of automation, because then the information is in FreeAgent. I can then analyze it, so as long as the bank feed is up, the client can go on holiday for 3 months, things will still tick over, and I've got most of the information to file a quarterly update and for it to be accurate. I've used the guess feature, which FreeAgent does, where it's doing the the analysing of the bank statements for me. I use that. I do the approval feature. I have a look, quickly bulk. I can even bulk, allocate categories now. Really straightforward and simple. That's nice. Smart capture. I have got a couple of clients using that. I like the fact that with smart capture, like Stu pointed out the other day, I don't want my clients to actually be analysing their receipts and invoices. So what they're doing is snapping them on their phone, leaving them in FreeAgent, and then when the payment comes out of the bank, FreeAgent is recognising the two, and they're trying to match it up for me. So that cuts out a bit of time and work there. And now I am going to move on to my list, because these are the ones that are being rolled out, I would say, by FreeAgent. And Ben, tell me to shut up if I need to. The CIS feature really excited me last week. So I'll let you talk about that in a bit more detail, but that automation for grossing things up and setting the tone from day one to say, this is a CIS subby, this is his deductions, when the money comes in the bank, this is what I want FreeAgent to do. So I'll let you just explain that bit better than I have.
Yeah, so we, Stu's team, again, he's everywhere, his team. Basically, we released a CIS feature so that if you get a CIS income straight into the bank account, you can qualify all of the CIS dealings with that transaction straight from the bank account, straight from that banking transaction, and you can just process it straight away.
And bank rules, Ben? I want to say bank rules are coming. I'm sure I've heard they're coming.
We've got an update to bank rules that are coming later this year. It's currently in development. I might be wrong in saying that it's already in testing. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we have got an update to bank rules coming. The main trigger for that was around the landlord license, because there's, like, for instance, because you have to qualify transactions to a property. We've said that, say for instance, your bookkeeping or accounting fees need to be split equally. You'll be able to set that sort of rule up in the coming time when that feature is released.
Yeah, and on the topic of landlords, one of the automations that I like about FreeAgent is, let's say, husband and wife, or brother and sister, or 2 friends that bought a property together 20 years ago. I like how you can set it up in FreeAgent at the beginning to say, this is the property ownership split. And then if someone sells their part of the property, you can change it midway through the year. And it does all that work for you, makes it really nice and straightforward. The licensing is easy to understand. So that is a nice little feature that I've got for my landlords. And then I'm not sure how far FreeAgent is in the development of this, but I know that you've talked about it before. So hopefully I'm not saying anything out of turn, but the approval system and the submission system for quarter updates, I'm fairly certain that it might be confirmed or not. We'll find out, but there's an auto submit or an auto approve. How's that working, Ben? Because that I quite like the sound of as well.
Yeah, so approval process is already up and running. I'm going to show that as part of the demo. We've got a default global, so you can have it for all, but then you can click into each individual one. Say, for instance, Tom, you've got people that work in the middle of Dartmoor that have just no internet signal, or they're in the South Pacific on a cruise. You can't get through to them. You could turn the quarterly update approval off for them. And then we've got some extra stuff as well coming for later in the year around automatically submitting quarterly updates and doing approvals and doing all of that workflow for you. You just set everything up and it does it all.
That's great. I love it. So yeah, that for me is cutting down the amount of time that I need to spend and my team needs to spend analyzing information, which the software, FreeAgent is a tool. It's not the answer to bookkeeping and doing the accounts and tax returns. It's a tool to help me in my practice. And I think that's the best way of describing it.
Excellent. Anything you'd like to add, Robyn?
I think that's the auto submission bit, I think, will make a big difference to people's process. I think that's some of the bit that causes some stress, the thought of having to not only check over quarterly updates, but then go and potentially think about asking for permission to submit, etc., and then having to remember that you're going to submit. I say asking for permission to submit because, of course, PCRT doesn't dictate that we have to do that for quarterly updates, but some people feel a bit about not asking for permission. But I think that having that automation there will really help with some workflows and if it's used.
Yeah. I'm not going to say too much about it because it is going to be spoken about at the road shows. So for anyone going to the road shows next month, the FreeAgent road shows, we're going to go into that in a bit more detail. So you'll be able to see it in full, not in full swing, but we've got a lot more details about it. Next question, more FreeAgent specific for you both. How have we as FreeAgent supported you in your plans for MTD for income tax?
Well, so I'll tackle the practice bit, Robyn, and then do you want to kick us off with how FreeAgent's been involved in the Accountants Therapy WhatsApp chat?
Sure.
Because for the last 12 months, it's been a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure. So Ben, your contribution to Accountants Therapy has been awesome. Thank you very much. So just to have that collaboration there within our WhatsApp community, understanding from software vendors' point of view what's happening and how it looks from a build. So Tom, you've got to stop, you've got to mute yourself when you're
sorry.
Now everyone knows it was you, not me. Yeah, that it's been that's been hugely useful because I think we've previously, and correct me if I'm wrong, everyone in the chat, that our industry can be so isolated and we can really approach things as, what am I going to do? And, oh, I wonder what other people are going to do, but I kind of want to be the best, etc. Having that collaboration within our group from FreeAgent has really widened, one, what we know technically, because you guys at FreeAgent have awesome technical knowledge and are often able to answer some of the technical questions that we just can't find answers for elsewhere. And two, just understanding some of the emotions behind everything and feeling that we're in it together has been something that really plays to the thought of how has FreeAgent supported you and your plans. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, honestly, it's been brilliant. And it's nice that there's been like those conversations where yourself or Stu has come in and said, look, we're thinking of this. What does everyone reckon? And I remember you did a poll saying these are like two options. I think it was like 100% unanimous decision that this is the one we wanted to see. And it's great that you guys are asking accountants and bookkeepers, this is what we think, what do you reckon? But from a practice point of view, so I've been an accountant for coming up to 18 years now. I went out on my own last year. So I went through the onboarding process as a new customer of FreeAgent last year. I had an onboarding client manager who helped me through it, get me signed up, gave me some quick training, did a video call. And then from there, I was given an account manager who is still my account manager now. I spoke to him last month when he was touching base to make sure that everything was going well. And I was going to have, was I ready for MTD? I was going to do a few presentations locally about MTD, reached out to FreeAgent and said, do you have any leaflets that I could give to people? It was in the post and sent out to me. FreeAgent has been massively supportive of my practice. So yeah, I can't speak more highly of what FreeAgent is doing. And it's just nice to be heard, I think, because it's very easy for a software vendor to say, to clients, you don't need accountants, but the language coming out of FreeAgent has been working with accountants, which I think is something that should be recognised. So yeah, thanks FreeAgent, good shout.
You're welcome. And I think this ties nicely onto the final question So in one sentence, what words of reassurance do you have for those worrying about MTD for income tax? And I'm keeping it to one sentence because we are running over because we've had a good chat. So in one sentence from you both, reassurances.
For me, find your people, come and have a rant and a moan if you're finding anything really difficult, and those people may well be your software providers. They can give you support. Obviously, we would like to be able to give you support, and then turn those rants and those feelings into actions, and you will be okay.
Tom?
It would just be set some time aside now, get ready, get prepared, and you've got it because you've been through worse. It will be fine.
Brilliant. Next steps for your practice. So on FreeAgent, we've got the blog, key milestones and everything like that. So to get to the blog, you go into your practice dashboard and you then go into the practice dashboard. You go into the partner zone and we've got blogs and we've got events. So if you've not signed up for our roadshows yet, in March, they're happening in 6 or 7 different venues across the country. Sorry, Tom, not one in Devon this time. As I know. But yeah, we've got them all over the country. Please do sign up for them. They are free to come to. And our next one, just coming back off what we've said earlier, would you like to book a free MTD action plan call for your practice? Again, that's where we can help you. We go through lots of different questions, scenarios, and help you plan. As you've heard from Robyn and Tom, there's lots of different caveats. There's little different nuances to MTD. It is the biggest generational shift in the tax regime. So please do ask away, answer away, should I say. And then the next one, again, it's just a repeat of the same one. Would you like someone from FreeAgent to get in touch with you? Yes, please. I'm new to FreeAgent. Yes, please. I'd love to hear from my account manager. Or C, no, thank you.
While they're answering that, can I ask you a question? What would you say to people who are worrying about MTD?
You're not alone. There's plenty of people, plenty of groups that you can stress to. Like we've got our Facebook community. There's the WhatsApp group, Therapy, Accountants Therapy with yourselves. Speak to people. Like go to events. Like give HMRC their due. Last year they ran a load of MTD readiness events, and I pretty much went to every single one. And the people that went there hadn't been to any event previously, and they were quite worried because of this big generational shift. So you're not alone. Speak to people, and there's lots of different avenues for you to do that.
That was a nice answer.
Thanks. So what I'm going to do now is I am actually going to share my screen, and let's hope it works. And I'm going to run through a few bits that will help make your MTD journey a little bit easier. Let's hope it does. So the first one is not directly related to MTD, but it's such a powerful feature that we feel like we should sing songs about it. So where it says FreeAgent MTD demo, that would be your practice name. You're going to click on here. You're going to go to connections and add-ons, and down here you can see bank connections. What you're going to do is you're going to click manage, and this is an internal demo dashboard, so there's no live bank feeds on here. But what this will do is on where it says client name in that big box, you will have a list of all of your clients that currently have an active bank feed, and you will have a button round about here that you can then click on, and what it will then do is it will then reconsent all of those bank feeds for you. Now, there is a caveat around that. There's certain banks that we have bank feeds with that are not on the main PSD2 open banking framework, and that means that what you would have to do is where you see client must update, we call those out for you. What that means is you just have to go into that license individually and just press that reconsent button. So the real good power advantage with this is if you've got an expired bank feed, it will also reconsent up to 90 days expired. And in that scenario, it will also pull in all of those transactions from the last upload as well. So a really, really powerful feature. When you're actually looking at turning MTD on for your clients, for those that have gone through, went through MTD for that, once you've done everything HMRC side, once you've made sure you've set up that user with their national insurance number, because do remember MTD runs on national insurance numbers, not on UTRs, you get this big box here. And you just click switch account over owner to MTD for income tax filing. To set up your connection, you go into connections and add-ons again, and you've got here HMRC connection, manage, connect for MTD. And you will then set that up here and you go through a step-by-step process on to do that. When it comes into management of MTD, if we go into reports, we've got this MTD, Making Tax Digital for Income Tax Report. And what this will do is this will list every user on your dashboard that is MTD ready, that you've set up for MTD, and it will list them by the most overdue or the oldest submission first. And it breaks it down into submission types. So you can see here Q1 to 4, you've got end of year final declarations. It'll tell you the submission when it was due, whether client approvals are on or not, and then the status of it. You can then go in and submit it. And then the new features around bulk sending and everything will be based off of this report, and you will come in here. When it comes to the approval process, if you click onto your practice name, go into settings, go tax submission and access control, click into here, and you want to go to the income tax one. So this is to set up the default approval process. Scroll down a bit and you can see here require approvals for. You can say no submissions, final declaration only, end of year, updates, final declaration, or quarterly, end of year, and final declarations. You've then got a default email as well. And if you need some more specific information, you highlight one of these tags and just copy and paste it in. You can change the text as well. If, for instance, though, you've got Tom Bickle who lives in the middle of nowhere and has no internet access around that, what you can do is you can click on your client's name, you can click more, you can click edit tax permissions, and you just untick this one. So you've then got that granularity on each client as well that you can then turn on and off. And then the final thing that I'm going to show you is around the landlord license. So if I click switch to into my landlord license, Death Star Properties, as you might have seen behind me, I've got a load of Star Wars stuff. I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd and geek, got loads of Lego. I'm going to show you a quick way how to set up the landlord license for multiple people. So first thing you'll do is click on your client's name, go into settings, go to users, add new user. And the big thing about this is you need to make sure that user is set as an owner. And that means a property owner within that group. And you put in the email, first name, last name. If you are going to be making submissions, you do the national insurance number, give them permission level, and then you create new user. Once you've done that, you go into property and add new property, and you just put in the first line of the address. And this is where you then next go into property settings, which is unique to the landlord license. Click on there. And this is where you can then set up all of those separate percentage ownership splits just by clicking add new ownership agreement, select the property from the drop down, select the owner, and you put in the percentage. And as Tom mentioned earlier, you can see here where I've got this one here that started on the 6th of April 25 with a 60-20-20 split right here. And then on the 6th of April, that changed to me relinquishing a lot of that percentage up to drop to 2.5%, and then changing to 97.5% just for Rufus. Now, these percentage ownerships don't have a bearing on the main figures in your P&L and your trial balance or your balance sheet. What they do is if we then go into taxes, income tax, what they do is they make sure the correct percentages are always allocated to their MTD section, so quarterly updates. If we then go to that main page again, we can then click on the drop-down user, and you can then switch between the different users to be able to make those different users permissions, those users quarterly updates. Final thing is, if we click on edit details here, this is where you can then set up whether you want tax year quarter ends or calendar year quarters, if you want full expenses or consolidated expenses. So for those under the turnover threshold of 90,000, they can do consolidated expenses. Anyone above that, you will then need to do full expenses, and also that individual information if you want to see that before doing the final declaration. Basically, we've made it available throughout the whole year, so that if, as and when you get that information through, you can then say, yes, I want to fill that in, and you just go through to individual information. You can then say, yes, I've got some CIS information. You tick that. That will then, when you then go to pull information down from HMRC, it will update that section. You can then check that as you go through against your bookkeeping, as well as one function that we sort of said we weren't going to build, but then there was a big calling from Robyn and Tom and co about, actually, what if we just want to pull data down from HMRC? So if you go into the quarterly update or MTD section, you can now request data from HMRC. What that means is you will be able to update the tax breakdown. It will update all of the figures in there, but it won't send through any further information through to HMRC. And that was a whistle-stop tour of some of the features within FreeAgent that we think are quite MTD specific. Got a couple of thumbs up and smiley faces on that. So as Tom and Robyn have said, we've got smart capture, automatic bound feeds, we've got the landlord solution, we've got a cracking mobile app. One of the powerful things about the mobile app is, though, if you have your mobile app set up on the same phone as your banking app, you don't need your online login credentials. It's built so that you can use your phone security, the one that they use to get into the mobile, into their banking app. It will use that same, so that you can then say, yes, I want FreeAgent to speak to X, Y, and Z bank account. Final poll of the day. How would you like us to get in touch with more information about FreeAgent can help your practice? Yes or no? And I'm going to ask Robyn and Tom a curveball question. And it has been mentioned before, but just not MTD related or anything like that. But both of you, what is your guilty pleasure musical song or band?
Oh, no.
This one's easy for me. This one's great, but I'm really looking forward to whatever Tom's answer is. I'm a big fan of Frozen the musical. I am known to whack that up in my car and drive to work with it full volume as I sing. I'm not a good singer, singing along to that, and my normal music taste is Zeppelin and Free and Bad Company, that kind of cool rock, right? But I do like Frozen the musical.
Tom?
You're ruining me, Ben. I've got a reputation for listening to very, very heavy metal going back many years, not to everyone's liking. But since having 2 young children, my partner found that our kids fall asleep listening to Taylor Swift. And I have to admit, I'm a Swiftie, and I can't believe I'm saying that in public. So yeah, I'm a Swiftie at heart, unfortunately. So clip that, put it on social media, reputation gone.
Brilliant. Great. I'll say it, Spice Girls.
Oh, that's a great guilty pleasure. Who doesn't like the Spice Girls?
It also shows your age, Ben, quite nicely.
I am 44 this year, so yeah.
I'm going to ask you later in our social group which your favourite Spice Girl is. So.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on. CPD points. If you take a picture of the QR code, please feel free. You will then be asked to enter your name and email address. You will then get the CPD certificate sent straight to you. If you don't have time, or you don't have your mobile, or you are using your mobile and not able to do it, we have a link that is embedded within the follow-up email, so that you will be able to get it from that as well. And I'll leave that up for a few minutes while we do some of the Q&As. So we try and answer a few of the questions that have come in. I know before we went live, Robyn, Tom, you said that you're going to sort of try and keep an eye on it. Are there any general themes that you've seen come through on the Q&A that we could sort of like help alleviate some of those?
Annualisation was a good one.
Yeah. You go for it.
I was going to say, the annualisation question, yes, HMRC want to see you, if someone starts midway through the year, they want you to annualise their turnover to assess if they go into MTD. They did previously say that they would be doing annualisation if you enter the start date on the tax return, but they have now kicked that back, saying it is the taxpayer's responsibility to ensure they comply with MTD when the rules apply to them. And I'm fairly confident that there's going to be some discussion over people that have got possibly seasonal businesses. You know, they start trading in November, have 3 months of low to trade, but they're not going to trade again for another 10 months, whether they can contact HMRC. But we're still waiting on clarity on that. I'm not sure if you know anything about that, Robyn or Ben.
No, I think we're waiting for the clarity, but it's the apportionment is meant to be on a just a reasonable basis. So it's not prescriptive. Therefore, one would assume that we will get some more guidance about seasonal workers being able to do that on a just a reasonable basis. That would be one of those times where it's not going to be divided by the number of days times it by the number of days in a year. I've seen a question here about ASA authorization that I can cover. So do the signed up clients in ASA with full authority still need the MTD authority? What you do is you pull your existing OSA, so your online services account authorizations, through to your ASA, your agent services account, and you will have then all of your clients there sitting in the background for MTD purposes. You won't be able to see them because there is not currently a client list, which is a bugbear of most people, and HMRC are aware of that. But when you go to sign somebody up, if you have already done that pull through and you're already authorised for them, you will be able to sign them up and access the MTD section. Any new authorisations, if you add them on the OSA, will pull through to your ASA account. And that ASA account is the same one that you would be using for VAT. So hopefully that clears that question off.
Brilliant. Awesome. And then I think we've got time for one more. One question that's come up recently, and I've seen it a couple of times, I've not seen whether it's here, but what is the sort of process for if you've got somebody that qualifying income ceases before the date of handover?
This is our favourite question at the moment because we had a long discussion on this yesterday.
WhatsApp group and the FreeAgent Facebook group, and I think there's a lot of not necessarily missing information, but not enough clarity around it. So, and I don't know whether that's from HMRC, from us, from people in the know. So, any insights?
Sure. So there are two ways to deal with this. You can either go and register that client for MTD, but remember that means you're signing them up for the new penalty regime. And then once you've registered them for MTD, you are able to notify the cessation within the ASA account within the MTD section. That will obviously give you a nice audit trail. You can click the buttons to do that. But the downside is potentially you might not want your client to come into the new penalty regime. The other option is to give HMRC a ring and ask to be put through to the MTD team and notify the cessation via phone. But what's unclear at the moment is exactly what happens after that process. We understand at the moment there isn't any kind of follow-up when you do that, so you wouldn't get a letter a bit like you do when you're removed from self-assessment. However, I think that is being looked into at the moment, and possibly that is something that might happen. But at the moment it's kind of a choice between, do you want an audit trail of what's happened, or do you want to put the client into the new penalty regime? And you may want to put the client into the new penalty regime. It might be an opportunity as well as something that you also need to consider.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end. So from me and everyone at FreeAgent, thank you very much, Robyn and Tom, and also then to everyone that's attended today. Thank you very much. You will get a follow-up email with, as I said, some of the main question themes that we've had today. You'll also have the CPD link in there if you weren't able to do the QR code. And again, thank you very much, everyone, and I'll be ending in the live event there.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Cheers, everyone.